Well, hey there everybody at home. I'm Running Water Farmer, and today we're going to be talking about food preservation. Food preservation is an age-old way to feed yourself through the winter. The Native Americans have been using traditional techniques to dry meat into pemmican for centuries. At the very same time, the Italians were making delicious wine to preserve the grape harvest. It's the middle of summer and we've got more vegetables than we know what to do with, so one way we can enjoy these vegetables the rest of the year is to preserve them. Food preservation can be broken down into two main categories. You got the old-fashioned way, which involves either drying your food with heat, salt, or a combination thereof. The other way is to ferment it. Think good old-fashioned beer. Throw in a little technology and your options for food preservation expand greatly. These include canning or the beloved freezer. So let's see what we've gotten here. This is our favorite method because it's the easiest, although probably the least reliable because it does rely on electricity. But let's see, we've got some beans, a ton of carrots, we've got some kale, we've got some celery, we've got corn, what else? Some venison from last fall, some of that jam Mrs. Running Water Farmer just made. So it's a modern convenience, but today we'll focus on something that's fail-proof, canning. We're going to make some pickles, and these will stay on your shelf almost indefinitely, and as long as you keep them in a cool, dry place, they'll be delicious as the day you canned them. So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. Alright, so we're going to need 4 cups of distilled vinegar, 4 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of dill seed, 3 tablespoons of pickling spice. I like to put them in this little sack here, that way they stay contained and they're not floating around. Some people like those spices with the pickles. It's a matter of preference. So anyway, we've got half a cup of salt. Make sure it's pickling salt, non-iodized. We got to keep these babies kosher, and 3/4 cup of sugar. Oh yeah, you also need some cucumbers, but that's beside the point. So let's get started. Alright, so take your 4 cups of water, put them in a saucepan. Also take your vinegar, 4 cups, mix them in together. What next? You want to get your salt and your sugar. So remember, it's half a cup of salt, 3/4 cup of sugar, and the most important ingredients, the dill, the pickling spice. They're all together. Let's throw some heat on this party. And want to simmer, get everything dissolved, get the sugar, get the salt dissolved, and we'll go from there. Make sure you keep this stirred up a bit so you don't burn the sugar. So while we wait on the brine to simmer, we can go ahead and cut up our cucumbers. Make sure you cut the ends off the blossom end of the cucumber. There's a compound in there that will cause your pickles to go soft, and everybody loves a crisp dill pickle, so it's easy to do. I actually just like to cut off both ends. So let's talk about pickling for a second. Basically what we're doing is we're going to soak these cucumbers in a brine, and what that salty brine is going to do is pass through the cell walls in the cucumbers and fill all the cells. Right now they're just full of water. They'll be filled with a nice salty brine solution that bacteria are unable to survive in. So you'll have preserved pickles. You get all that flavor. It's a great business. So once you get the blossom end cut off of your cucumbers, go ahead and slice them up. You can do them any way you want. Some people like spears, so if that's the case, cut the cucumbers into 6 parts. For this big one, I think that'll be the way to go. So just cut it in half and then cut each half into thirds. I'm no mathematician, but I think that makes 6. So there's one style. The other thing you can do is just go ahead and slice them. So this will give you some pickles that you can put them on a burger, but these are a great way to snack too if you just find yourself in the mood for some pickles. So we'll try each way, see how it goes. Next thing you want to do is just fill your jar up with as many pickles as you can get in there, but make sure you leave about a 1/2 inch space on top. I want to make sure these pickles are well covered with brine if we're going to do this right. Now that we have our jars full of pickles, what we want to do is pour that hot brine. You remember the stuff that we were simmering over here, stirring so it didn't burn with all the good spices in it? Yeah, that stuff. So you want to take that and carefully pour it into the jars, hopefully not burning yourself too badly. If you're not into scalding your hands and melting your shoes, one thing you can do is take that big pot, pour it into a smaller pot, and then work your way down from there, because I'll tell you, pouring boiling water into a small mouth jar is be a little challenging at times. So there we go, we've got our brine and our nice easy pour Pyrex measuring cup. And so what we want to do is pour that brine and make sure the pickles are covered completely. Remember, we left about a ½ inch of air space for the pickles. Now we want to go up and leave just a ¼ inch right on top. So those pickles are completely covered in the brine. There we go. Next thing you want to do is take your newly sterilized lids. Place one on each jar. Take a ring. Don't tighten it too hard. Don't want to make an explosive jar, so just really put them on kind of loosely. What we're going to do is put them in a boiling water bath, and we're going to boil these babies for about 5 minutes. So we've got this is a stock pot here. I've got a much bigger pot for canning, but since we're only doing 3 jars, well, this will be a little bit faster anyway. So we take our jars, they've got our hot simmered brine in them. We've got our pickles, and we put our jars in. This may overflow a bit. We'll see. They make some tongs that you can use to not burn yourself, but I say real men just put their hand in the boiling water. So, oh man, look at that, it's perfect. The level is right, water is right there, completely covering the jars. That's what you want. You want these things completely submersed. And go ahead, crank up the heat, put the lid on, and boil them for about 5 minutes. Our 5 minutes are up. We've taken the jars out and we've set them on this towel to cool. You also want to make sure that the lids are nice and tight right now. You want to create that good seal. And like I said before, they sell tongs so you can pull those jars out of the boiling water. But I say be a man, do it by hand. Well, thanks for watching part 1 of our food preservation series. Stay tuned for more great episodes. I'm Running Water Farmer, and we'll see you later. Ooh, that burns. It's a good burn.